Hello and welcome to Retro Game Swede, where we talk about all things video games. And today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite systems, the Sega Master System. I'll show you my entire collection of games as well as a couple of must-have peripherals. But to start off, the console itself. And of course I have it right here in all of its 8-bit glory. We have the standard 2 control ports at the front, the power button, the reset button, the card slot for card-based games, and a cartridge slot for those games. And then we have the pause button, which is kind of a weird choice to put it on the actual console. But hey, at least we can pause, right? And then we have the standard normal controller. It's basically just exactly as the NES controller, with just a different D-pad and no start and select button. And then I have a second controller. I don't know, it's sort of a special turbo controller, I think, with a couple of turbo levers right there. And then we have the most important peripheral of all for any 8-bit system, the gun. This one, well, it feels really good to hold and to play with. In this pack you get 3 games with it. Marksman shooting, which is basically just you're in a what's it called, you shoot you basically just shoot dummies, I think. And then it's trap shooting, where you shoot clay pigeons. And then it's safari hunt, where you shoot stuff in a jungle. And for that, of course, I have a couple of games. Operation Wolf, where you basically just go around, shoot bad guys. And Gangster Town, where you shoot gangsters, of course. And Rescue Mission, which I haven't actually tried at all. I don't really know what it's about. And then as the second must-have peripheral, we have the Sega 3D glasses. These actually work really well. You hook them up to the console, and it actually gives you a pretty decent 3D effect. And I have a couple of games for that too. Maze Hunter. You run around the maze trying not to get killed. Quite decent. And of course Saxon 3D, which is well, it's Saxon, it's a classic space shooter. Really good. So now to the games, to the actual games for the system. We'll start off with Action Fighter. If you ever wondered what happens if you put guns on the bike from Hang On, this is the game. It's basically a top-down racer with guns. It can be quite fun. It's not the best, but it can be quite fun. Then we go on with Air Rescue, where you control a rescue chopper trying to save civilians from terrorists. Also a pretty decent game. And we'll continue with Alien 3, which is a more of a Metroidvania style kind of game. You go around sort of almost a maze, killing aliens and trying to find the way out. And after that we have Altered Beast, which is On the Mega Drive, it's really a classic, but the Master System you should pretty much never, ever play. It runs like a slideshow. It does look decent on stills, but in reality, it's horrible. And then you have another absolute classic, Afterburner. It's basically the same game as any of the other ports, just doesn't look as good, but it plays actually pretty well. And then we have Back to the Future 2, which honestly I've never played it past the first level. It's absolute crap. You get mowed down by old people and RC cars when you travel with your hoverboard, and then you die and die and die and die and die and hope you get a bit closer to the end of the level, but you never do. And after that we go to Back to the Future Part 3, which is also annoyingly hard. Really, really hard. The first level is you going on a horse trying to evade stuff, and it's just insanely hard. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that either. And after that we have California games. You play. This is actually a classic. You can either surf, go BMX, or your old style skates, or do half pipe skating, and it can be pretty fun. It's not as fun as like track and field or anything like that, but it can be quite fun if you're a couple of people playing. Then we go on to Castle of Illusion. It's one of those great looking Disney games that came out for both the Master System and the Mega Drive. And it plays really well, it looks really well, and it's quite fun. And then we have the Master System version of Chuck Rock, which isn't that great. It doesn't have any background music. If you like that kind of thing, it basically doesn't have any backgrounds either. Most levels are just platforms on a black background. And yeah, it's not super fun. The animations look great, but when everything else is missing, I don't really think it's something I would recommend. And we move on to Champions of Europe, which is a really crappy soccer game. Which isn't, well, I don't have much to say about it. It's just not great. And we move on to a real classic, Double Dragon. Real fun brawler. If you're two players, this game is amazing. It's really, really fun. It looks great, it plays great. Just remember to jump kick all the way. And now we have a weird one. F-16 Fighter. You basically fly around in an F-16 trying to shoot stuff, and it's insanely hard to hit anything. And the ground is just a blue-white grid. But it's one of the rare type of games on these cards. I only have 3 of these, so if I find any card-based games, I generally buy them. And then we have another classic, Gauntlet. You go around in a maze, more or less, or dungeon, or and try to find the end and kill off a bunch of enemies. Yeah, it's really fun if you're like two players. It's really good. And then we have a weird one, Ghostbusters. I haven't actually figured out how you play this game, really, because I mostly just go around the streets and nothing happens. So yeah, it's a weird game. I don't really know how to play it. But it's Ghostbusters, so it has to be fun, right? Then we have Global Defense. You go around trying to save Earth. You fly around, I mean, trying to save Earth from some sort of alien. And the controls are really weird. To move your ship, you need to hold down the 1 button, I think, and otherwise you just control a crosshair on the screen. And the controls make this game insanely hard, but it's fun. And then we have a game I haven't even started, but it talks for itself. It's a golf game. It's not super exciting. And then we have an absolute classic, which you have to play, especially if you but for some reason Golden Axe for Master System only allows 1 player, which is kind of a weird choice, but well, they do have they don't have unlimited memory, you know. But it looks nice, it plays nice, and it's of course an absolute classic. Then you have a game I really didn't need to buy, because Hang On is built into my console. It's basically Outrun on a bike. Plays decent, works fine to play, and it's the game you get to play if you don't have any games for the Master System, if you have the same version as I am. And then I have a game called Heavyweight Champ. I haven't played this much at all. It's a boxing game. That's pretty much all you can say. It's just a boxing game. It's nothing. It's not like Punch Out or anything like that. Not that fun. Then you have a nice little puzzle platformer, Krusty's Funhouse. You play as Krusty, trying to figure out different ways to get out of the level, and it's a really fun little game. And then you have one of the Disney classic games, The Lion King. It's not as amazing as the Mega Drive or Super Nintendo versions, but it's still really good. And then we have Donald Duck, the Lucky Dime Caper. Also a pretty decent game. It's a typical platformer. We are supposed to save the nephews, of course, as always. Then we move on to Miracle Warriors. It's a really nice, really fun RPG game. Really recommend this. Quite amazing for the system. And then we have another card game. I actually have 2 copies of this. One is the card game and one is the normal cartridge one. And it's not super fun. You run around the stage trying to beat up punks. And try to save your girlfriend. That's basically it. It looks really boring. It's kind of boring. Then we have a classic MS Pac-Man. It's basically Pac-Man but with more stages. That's all there is to it, actually. Then we have a game I really like, the Ninja. It's a top-down shooter where you throw throwing stars at other ninjas. Really fun. Check it out if you want to. Highly recommend this. Then we have a classic Outrun, which basically came from a ton of systems, but later on. But it's not as good as the Mega Drive version, of course. But my copy is kind of worn out and half broken, but it still works, and it's an amazing game. Then we have another game I haven't really played much of because I don't really think it's fun. It's pro wrestling. I played it yesterday but couldn't really figure out the controls, so yeah, nothing to it. And after pro wrestling we go to Pac-Mania, which is basically just Pac-Man on bigger levels and a 3D plane. It's basically just Pac-Man with bigger levels and weirder looking ghosts. And then we have a nice little puzzle platformer, Penguin Land. You play as a little penguin trying to get their egg to the end of the level. It's pretty fun. And after that we go on to Populous. It's a really nice god strategy game. Really fun. And this is one of my absolute favorite games for the system, R-Type. It looks great, it plays great. Doesn't need too much of an explanation. It's just a shoot 'em up, space shoot 'em up, of course, and yeah, works really well on the system. And here we have Submarine Attack. It's also shoot 'em up. You you play as a submarine, and it's basically a shoot 'em up. We play as a submarine, trying to shoot other submarines and other wildlife and other boats. And Spellcaster, which is a decent platform action game. You shoot stuff with one button and jump with another. It isn't. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. So it's something in the middle. Then we have the Sega Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog, of course. the game where you can outrun the screen. It's really fun. I really like it. But outrunning the screen isn't the best feature in any game ever, I think. Because most of the time when you do it, you die. And then we have Sonic 2, which is basically exactly the same thing as the other guy, as the first game, with a couple of twists, sort of. None of them are bad games, but none of them are as good as the Mega Drive versions. Then we have Speedball, which is basically futuristic soccer. I don't like this at all. I know it was pretty popular back in the day, but it hasn't aged well at all. And we move on to Spider-Man. It's just a platformer. I played it last night. The first level, you just go around, take out all the enemies, and then you get to meet the boss. And then I came to the second level, which is a sewer level, and then I quit. It's not superb. It's not bad. It's very, very mediocre. Super Monaco GP, which is of course a racing game. It looks a bit like Outrun. It's not super fun. Outrun is much more fun. So yeah, if you want to play a racing game for Master System, I would go either with Outrun or Hang On. Then we have Super Smash TV. It's basically the same thing as Gauntlet, actually. You get sent into a room, kill a bunch of stuff, move on to the next room. It's a really fun two-player game, but if you play it by yourself, it's not terrific. And then we move on to Tasmania. It's a really good licensed game. I think it's really fun. I don't know if everyone likes it, but I really like it. Many of these licenses actually produced some decent games back in the day. Now we go to Teddy Boy. It's sort of a weird thing. You go around this weird maze-like levels, trying to shoot different enemies and picking up their things they drop. And once you've killed everyone, you move on to the next level. It's nothing fancy, nothing super fun or super exciting. And then we move on to Transbot, which is absolutely not Transformers. It's a shoot 'em up where you can transform between spaceship and robot. Really fun little game, but I don't think you could release this now and say it's absolutely not Transformers. Then we have a Wimbledon. Yay, a tennis game. It's not great, it's not bad, it's a tennis game. Then we have one of the mascots for Sega Master System, Wonder Boy in Monsterland. This game has aged very, very bad. It's insanely slow to play. It doesn't control bad or anything, but you just move very, very slow. And yeah, it's not that super fun to play. And the last one of the box games I have is World Soccer, which is a soccer game. It's not nothing fancy, nothing good, nothing fun. So now we move on to the games I have. I don't have boxes for, and the first game is Asterix and the Secret Mission, which is a really nice looking 8-bit game. It looks stunning, and it plays really nice. It's a really good game. So all of the Asterix games for Master System are really good. So if you get a chance to get them, do that. And then we have Alien Storm. It's basically a brawler where you go around killing aliens instead of hitting people in the face. Then we have Batman Returns. It's not really a super game. It looks nice and controls nice, but it's a one-hit, you're dead game, and I hate those. And then you have Bank Panic, which is basically a shooter game where you try to shoot bandits at a bank. It's quite a fun little idea, but it's not amazing or anything. Then we have Cyborg Hunter, which is basically a sort of a Metroidvania kind of game, where you go around a big building trying to find things and beating up enemies as a RoboCop wannabe. Then we move on to Galaxy Force, which is sort of a afterburner in space, you can call it. It's really hard because the enemies move super fast, and you don't. It looks nice, plays okay, but it's insanely hard. Then we have Shadow Dancer, which is just another name for one of the Shinobi games. I can't remember which number though, but it's a Shinobi game. It's really good. Then we have Slapshot, which is a hockey game, which isn't that super duper fun. And then we have one of my absolute favorite games for this system, Moonwalker. It is, of course, based on the Moonwalker sort of movie thing Michael Jackson did in the 80s. It looks really good. The music is solid. It's kind of fun to play. You play as Michael Jackson, of course, trying to find a bunch of kids, which is kind of ironic. It's a stellar game. We move on to Marble Madness, which is basically the maze game you used to have in like a like a box with a marble in, where you could control two axes and didn't want to fall into holes. It's not super duper fun, and it's really hard with the D-pad on the Master System controller. And then we have Secret Command, which is absolutely not Rambo. It's basically Rambo, of course. Even the guy on the start screen looks very much like Rambo. It's a top-down shooter. You walk vertically up and shoot a bunch of bad guys. Really fun game. And then we have Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap, which is a lot better than Wonder Boy and Monsterland. Still hasn't aged too well, but it's a lot better than Monsterland. And then lastly, we have Fire and Forget, which is basically Outrun with guns. It's fun little game. You drive around in your Outrun looking car and shoot stuff. Kind of recommended if you can find it cheap. So there you have it for today. We'll see what we do next week, and yeah, have a good day.